Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and this video serves as an update to the fastest sports cars video where I show the best fully upgraded sports cars in terms of lap time. For all the information you need about this series, check that original sports cars video, but otherwise let's see where the new Jester Classic falls into that list. And basically it has been relegated into insignificance by being changed and put into the sports class. It gets a lap time of 1 minute 6.533, which is only good enough for 31st place in the sports class. And obviously anything really in the sports class these days is just not worth buying in terms of racing or performance because the pariah exists and just demolishes everything. So the Jester Classic is affected by the handling flags that were introduced in the Southern San Andreas Supersport Series update, and all the vehicles that have been affected by those flags are exactly the same. Entity XXR, Taipan, Tyrant, all of those vehicles are still not as quick as they could be without them. They're still not as quick over bumps. The Jester Classic isn't as affected by it. But the problem that it has now is that the Jester Classic that we had with the Southern San Andreas Supersport Series update that ended up not being released and pushed back for this DLC was in the Sports Classics class. And the 106.5 would have been good enough for sort of around the top 5 range in Sports Classics. But because it's been put in the Sports class, its performance hasn't changed since that update as well. All the handling flags are still there, and it's only really some body modifications that it's been given that's taken it, so long, and why it's being pushed to this DLC. With that lap time in the sports class is very, very poor considering what we have at the top of the sports class, but it would be much, much closer to the top of the Sports Classics class. And when I did some early testing and early driving with the Jester Classic, the sort of the original version, if you like, from the previous DLC, there were some very specific circumstances where it could compete with the top cars, like the Turismo Classic. It was, on a flat circuit where it wasn't affected by the bumps making it slower. On a flat circuit like that, it does have good traction, and it would have been able to at least, compete with the top Sports Classics cars. On a bumpy circuit like this, it's a good few seconds off the pace, but it would have had some use at least in some certain situations. But because it's not in the Sports Classics class, it is instead in the Sports class. It is, like I said, relegated into insignificance, and it wasn't even given a fighting chance of being useful to anybody from a racing performance perspective. Not only does it have the handling flags that make cars slower over bumps with that was introduced with the last DLC, it's also been put in a class where it's just not going to ever compete with the top cars like the Pariah, for example. So yeah, that's it for the Jester Classic. I would go over its top speed, and obviously I've got plenty more cars to come and testing to do in the future, both in the future days and then in weeks with the drip feeding content from the After Hours DLC. But like I said, if you want to check out the positions of all the sports cars in the game, that is in the original video, and any of the classes are also linked in the playlist, which is in the description of this video, as well as the pinned comment. So that's pretty much it for this video. Remember to read the description for more info, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed or found it helpful, subscribe for more, and consider supporting on Patreon or YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.